The earth beneath Naples is shifting again. Since 2022, Campi Flegrei, one of the most dangerous calderas, has been groaning eerily, the ground rising, streets cracking open, poisonous steam leaking from the solfatara, and hundreds of earthquakes rattling millions awake. On March 13, 2025, a shallow tremor struck Pozzuoli, shaking homes and sending fear through a city built atop a restless giant. Scientists are watching Bradyseism, relentless ground uplift, and debating whether fractures could someday link Campi Flegrei to Vesuvius, exposing 3.5 million people to a threat that destroyed Pompeii. What really lies beneath this 8-kilometer fracture zone, and could it herald the next disaster? This is the story of a sleeping supervolcano, the warning signs we see, and the dangers science cannot fully predict. The quake hit at 1:25 in the morning. In Pozzuoli, beds lurched sideways, glass shuttered in cupboards, and walls let out a low, grinding groan. A magnitude 4.4 earthquake, shallow, just 3 kilometers deep, ripped through the heart of the Campi Flegrei caldera. For seconds that felt like minutes. Entire apartment blocks shook, as if a freight train had passed beneath the streets. Dishes crashed to the floor. Lights flickered. In one Bagnoli flat, a suspended ceiling collapsed, trapping a woman until neighbors pulled her free. Across the city, terrified families bolted into the night, clutching children, scanning for cracks in the pavement, and wondering if their homes would hold. Panic swept through narrow alleys as people pressed together in the cold, staring at buildings that seemed suddenly fragile. No one slept. The shaking was the strongest in 40 years, a reminder that the ground here is never truly still. Above, the night air hung heavy with the smell of sulfur, and distant steam vents hissed louder than usual. For Pozzuoli's residents, the question was no longer if the earth would move, but what it might do next. By sunrise, Pozzuoli's streets looked like a city under siege. Fresh cracks zigzagged across the asphalt, some wide enough to swallow a hand, running along sidewalks and slicing through playgrounds. In the old quarter, stone steps buckled and plaster peeled away to reveal raw, fractured brick. The evidence was everywhere. Walls split open, door frames warped, and ancient Roman columns stood slightly askew, as if nudged by an invisible force. Bradyseism, the slow, relentless rise and fall of the ground, was at work again. Over the past 4 years, the caldera beneath Campi Flegrei had lifted more than 20 centimeters, pushing the surface upward at nearly a centimeter each month. Instruments tracked the movement: GPS stations, laser reflectors, and satellite radar. The Earth's skin was stretching, bending, and breaking under the pressure of gases and superheated water trapped far below. In a field notebook, a volcanologist wrote that the crust was failing along buried faults, and that fractures align with the ring fault system. Each new fissure hinted at deeper turmoil. Scientists debated whether these cracks pointed to a larger pathway, a possible 8-kilometer fracture zone slicing beneath Pozzuoli. While no one could confirm a direct link to Vesuvius, the pattern was unmistakable. The ground was signaling distress. Only constant monitoring could reveal if these wounds in the city's surface were warnings of something greater stirring below. Invisible, odorless, and deadly, volcanic gases seep through Pozzuoli's cracked streets and ancient stone. Every day, the ground exhales carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide, gases that can suffocate in high concentrations, corrode metal, and burn the throat with a single breath. At Solfatara, the main fumarole field, carbon dioxide emissions have soared to thousands of tons per day. On thermal scans, the Earth glows with hidden heat, revealing a patchwork of hotspots where steam vents roar and the soil itself steams even in winter. Residents report the sharp tang of sulfur on the wind, and sometimes a strange dizziness near low-lying basements or in courtyards after rain. Past incidents have forced evacuations, with pets found unconscious, metal pipes eaten through by acid, and entire playgrounds cordoned off after sensors detected dangerous levels. Scientists have deployed a web of monitoring instruments, gas sensors, infrared cameras, and automated alarms, trying to catch the next surge before it turns lethal. For those living above the caldera, the threat is not just from shaking ground, but from the toxic breath rising silently beneath their feet. Rows of blinking monitors line the walls at the Mount Vesuvius Observatory, each screen pulsing with the heartbeat of the caldera. Beneath Pozzuoli's fractured streets, a network of sensors works around the clock. Satellite radar, GNSS receivers, seismometers, gas probes, all tuned to the slightest tremor, the faintest hint of change. Every twitch of the ground, every surge of gas is recorded in real time. Satellite INSAR scans the surface from orbit, detecting ground movement as small as a millimeter. GNSS stations, anchored to ancient stone and modern rooftops, track the relentless rise of the land, 20 centimeters in just 4 years, a silent heave that no human eye could catch. Seismometer arrays listen for the deep groans of shifting rock, while gas sensors sample the air for spikes in carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide, warning of invisible hazards. On a wall-mounted screen, the alert level glows yellow. This is not a signal to flee, but a warning. The system is restless, and vigilance is mandatory. The yellow alert, active since 2012 and heightened after the March 2025 quake, means scientists have detected ongoing unrest, ground uplift, swarms of earthquakes, and surging gas emissions. Access to Solfatara's steaming vents is restricted. Civil protection agencies are on standby. Residents are told to prepare, not panic. Behind every color code is a decision. When to tighten restrictions, when to sound alarms, when to move 500,000 people out of harm's way. An INGV scientist, eyes fixed on a scrolling seismic graph, explains. We watch for patterns, accelerating uplift, clustering quakes, rising gas. It's like listening to a giant breathing beneath the city. The yellow alert means we're not in the clear. We're watching for the moment when unrest turns into emergency. In this world of sensors and thresholds, science stands as the city's first defense. But the monitors can only warn. They cannot predict what the restless earth will do next. Every siren, every flashing alert, every yellow code on the screen means nothing if the people in harm's way can't escape in time. In the shadow of Campi Flegrei, more than 3.5 million lives depend on plans drawn up in government offices. Plans that must turn chaos into order when the ground won't stop moving. The numbers are staggering. 500,000 people live inside the official red zone, where pyroclastic flows could outrun any vehicle. The wider Naples region swells that number sevenfold. Civil protection officials, the Protezione Civile, have poured over 500 million euros into evacuation routes, buses, and public drills. But even with that investment, gaps remain. Recent audits reveal hundreds of missing buses, broken generators at assembly points, and shelters still unequipped for the elderly or disabled. In Pozzuoli, a single crack in the main road can snarl traffic for hours. Multiply that by dozens of fissures, and the escape routes become choke points. A planner from Protezione Civile, voice tight with worry, puts it plainly. We can move people, but not all at once. If the alert goes orange, we have 72 hours to clear the red zone. That's the best case scenario. Drills in 2024 and 2025 managed to evacuate tens of thousands, but not the hundreds of thousands at risk. Funding shortfalls and damaged infrastructure mean that a full-scale evacuation could take longer than the window allows. For families living above the caldera, the question is painfully real. If the order comes, will the roads hold? Will the buses arrive? The science can warn, but it is the human chain, drivers, medics, officials, neighbors that decides who escapes and who is left behind. The clock is always ticking. 40,000 years ago, Campi Flegrei, did not just tremble, it exploded. The Campanian Ignimbrite eruption unleashed more than 300 cubic kilometers of ash and molten rock, a force so immense it carved out the caldera beneath modern Pozzuoli and blanketed Europe in darkness. Ash fell in layers meters thick, choking rivers, burying forests, and driving temperatures down across the continent. Even today, drill cores from the Black Sea to the Alps carry traces of that ancient night. 15,000 years later, the Neapolitan yellow tuff eruption followed, smaller but still colossal. 40 cubic kilometers of material surged out, reshaping the Gulf of Pozzuoli and leaving behind the yellow cliffs that line Naples' coast. And then, in 79 AD, Vesuvius erupted with a fury that destroyed Pompeii and Herculaneum in hours, entombing thousands beneath a rain of ash and searing pyroclastic flows. These are not distant legends. They are written in stone in the bones of buried cities and in the DNA of the land itself. It is a reminder that this region, home to millions, has unleashed catastrophe before. Beneath Naples, the Campanian volcanic arc stretches like a buried scar. Campi Flegrei, Vesuvius, and Ischia are all linked by the same restless geology. Some scientists point to a shared mantle source deep below, where magma churns and pressure builds across the entire arc. Fracture zones and hidden faults lace the crust, raising the question, could stress or fluids migrate from one volcano to another? The evidence is compelling, but the picture remains incomplete. No study has ever confirmed a direct, continuous pathway, no 8-kilometer crack running from Pozzuoli to Vesuvius, no proof that eruptions can be triggered in tandem. What is known, these volcanoes are siblings in the same volatile family, shaped by the same tectonic forces. An INGV volcanologist puts it bluntly. The connection is possible, but not proven. We watch, we study, but we do not yet know what the next rupture might bring. The arc remains under debate, a system vast enough to pose a threat to millions, yet still holding its deepest secrets out of reach. Beneath the crowded streets of Naples, the caldera still heaves, its Bradyseism lifting lives inch by inch, while gas emissions and seismic alarms blare. Science watches, but certainty slips through fractured ground. 3.5 million people stand on the edge of possibility. The giant beneath us never truly sleeps.